Hi there again, this is Professor Innes and you are on Module 7 of your SouthPark course. And as you can see with the title, you've got a discussion on the reason for the existence of evil and also a discussion on is SouthPark blasphemous. So both of those have got to be addressed. So we'll start with our discussion on evil. Now, in philosophy, and particularly with the philosophy of religion, we've got this problem of evil. Now, if there is evil, and we're saying that a God who's all-powerful or good exists in the world to prevent such evil, then why doesn't he prevent this evil? So that's a straightforward question. I mean, it sounds quite reasonable to say that, if the God was good, he would protect us from horrible things. Now, what you've got here is the classic cartoon from South Park dealing with Eric Cartman. Now, Cartman, in this episode of Cartman Land, inherits $1 million from his grandmother, and he goes and buys a entertainment park. Now, because he's selfish and greedy, he buys the park and turns it into his own park and excludes everybody else, and at the same time also takes out advertisement space to let everybody know that they can't come along as well. So what's happened here is something that's quite evil in comparison to make sure I get the right boy here. I think it's Kyle who's contracted piles. So we think, okay, there's Kyle behaving himself and he's got piles, and Eric Cartman is an unmitigated scoundrel, and he's inherited $1 million and buys his own entertainment park. Now, surely this isn't evil, this is a terrible situation. So for philosophers, they look at this and they think, okay, how can this be justified? How can you ever justify this situation whereby God is present and there is an evil act? Now, you're going to read about this and come up with the conclusion, well, not so much a conclusion, but an understanding of why God did allow there to be evil. Now, you're going to discuss the book of Job as well here, and you're going to be critical of the book of Job. So, not only are you going to have that discussion on evil, and say, why did God allow Cartman to have this Cartman land and enjoy himself and all that, and what consequently happened after that, but also you're going to discuss this consideration of Job and how he justifies evil, namely God justifies evil. Now, is the book of Job a good argument? Let's have a look at that. There are points, as pointed out in the text, saying here that maybe we should not accept the book of Job. There's something wrong with it, but I'll let you do that discussion. Also, you're going to be discussing a thing called free will. Maybe God has created evil to test our free will, not test it, but to give it exercise. That could be a good enough explanation, because you can't be good if you don't have a choice to be bad. And therefore, I choose to be good, even though I could choose something evil. So robbing banks and torturing people I don't like is an evil. But it's not something good if I don't do it unless I've had that choice. So maybe, evil is present to exercise our free will, therefore making God, give an explanation for the existence of evil. So there's another explanation, and you can have that explanation discussed as well with Cartman Land as well. Hicks' solution is something for you to read. A very interesting argument put forward by Hicks. But overall, as you're going to go into the next bit of reading, you've got this discussion on blasphemy. You've got this discussion on is it possible that South Park is blasphemous? Now, we may have to admit that they're not blasphemous, they're just picking out the hypocrites. They're picking out those who are using religious belief for other reasons than doing good. There might actually be malicious individuals. So yeah, maybe it's not maybe it's not blasphemous, and therefore we can consider it to be a reasonable attack on those people who are not really religious anyway. Possible that's a conclusion, but I'll let you do the reading and do the thinking on that particular one. But overall, this is typical with philosophy. We have this thing, the supernatural being called God, and all these things happen. Like evil, like there being people around here who misinterpret his word. And philosophers are very interested in these particular discussions. So that's what you're going to be doing here. So you're going to learn quite a bit about philosophy itself, philosophy of religion, in particular with free will and the existence of evil, and also what is blasphemous and what is not blasphemous. Very important aspects of philosophy, in particular with the philosophy of religion. So we'll be involved quite a lot in this, but of course in a very interesting way, while watching the SouthPark cartoons and using them as examples. And as we say all through this course, these examples are great if you do philosophy later on. So for example, if you want an example of evilness, showing an episode of the Cartman Land would depict this sense of evil. Evil has existed, and there may even be a justification for this evil later on, that it breeds some good. So in that way, it's a good example. So it's a good preparation if you so want to do philosophy later on, do a few courses, or a minor, or even a major for that matter. Okay, right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know if you need anything. Enjoy this section on the philosophy of religion, and that discussion on is SouthPark blasphemous. You should enjoy it. Okay, thanks a lot, and speak to you soon. Bye bye.